because of the form he's shown for Freddie Head, who wouldn't be tilting at windmills coming out here. This son of Frankel was very good a couple of starts ago, and I suggest just had a little bit of a prep when last seen on the 5th of March when beaten back in trip. But at this sort of trip a couple of starts ago was very good when winning at the back end of last year, and he won't be easy to beat. We'll turn our attention back to number 4, who's just making his way towards us. He's got the noseband on, and that is
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America live from Gulfstream Park, Florida Derby Day. Mandatory payout on the Rainbow Six, $2.6 million. Don't forget, a little less than half an hour, the Clubhouse Racebook opens up. Plenty of early action. They're already underway in Dubai. Nice win for Colefront in the Godolphin Mile. Coming up, obviously, later, the Dubai World Cup. Again, Clubhouse Racebook opens up at 9 a.m. First 50 folks through the door, a bet voucher program, and there'll also be a match bet promotion throughout the day today at the Clubhouse Racebook. Love to see you down there. We're at live from Gulfstream. Let's jump in. Over the past couple of days, we were running around with the camera, got some interviews from the major players. If you didn't see yesterday, folks like Kieran McLaughlin and Jason Service, talked to them yesterday. Chad Brown, you can pull that up on our YouTube channel if you want to see the replay and get thoughts of some of their runners today. But let's jump right in the action. Caught up with Todd Pletcher yesterday, right after his win in the skip-away with Marconi. Talked just briefly about that one, but also got some thoughts on current in the Florida Derby, Prince Lucky in the Gulfstream Park Mile. Also talked about Colefront, who just won the Godolphin Mile, but it got some thoughts on Audible as well in the Dubai World Cup and more. Todd Pletcher up next.
Right now by Todd Pletcher. We're taping on Friday after a win in the skip-away from Marconi. Looked pretty good. Nice little older horse for you this year.
Yeah, we always felt like he's a horse that was going to improve with age and distance, and so we were happy to have this mile and 3/16 opportunity here. It's been training well, and we're happy to put it all together.
Couple entrants on the Florida Derby card tomorrow, also over in Dubai. Let's start with current. Mostly turf in the career. 5 of 6 starts on the turf. What was the game plan for putting him in the starting gate for the Florida Derby?
Well, actually, we had decided last week that we were going to give the dirt one more try, and we're trying to decide which race to do it in. Kind of at the last minute, we decided that since he's here, he's doing well, we'd take the ship out of the equation and just give this a try. He's bike hurling. He's out of he's a half brother to a Grade 1 winner in the Ashland on the dirt. So, there's plenty of evidence to suggest he'll handle the dirt. The one time we did try it, it was on a sloppy track, and I don't think that was a real indication of his ability on the main track.
You also have Prince Lucky going in the Gulfstream Park Mile. Won the easy goer last June at Belmont. Off since, came back and won the Hell's Hope off that long layoff with a lifetime best buyer. An improved 4-year-old?
I think he's a nice 3-year-old. He's improved. That was I think his best race to date. He's trained well since then. We're looking forward to giving it another try.
Let's update on a couple of those Dubai runners. Godolphin Mile, Colefront, just a phenomenal ride from Johnny and the Razorback. I mean, from the outside post position to get good position early and take them all the way around. Was the Godolphin Mile on the radar after the win at Oaklawn?
Well, yeah, it's been on the radar for a while, and we wanted to see how that went. The first time around 2 turns he handled well, which opened up a lot of options, but we just felt like the 1 mile distance is ideal for him. He's training good enough to feel like we could make the ship.
Audible in the Dubai World Cup. When did they get over there, and how are they doing?
They've been there about 12 days, shipped over with the rest of the American horses. Everything so far has gone well. We got in their final breezes here. It's just been kind of maintenance gallops, a little paddock schooling, gate schooling, that kind of stuff up to the race.
What are the thoughts for Audible in the World Cup?
Well, we're looking forward to getting him back on a fast track. With his last 2 races on a sloppy surface, we didn't feel like he was really at his best on that type of ground. So we're looking forward to fast track, and hopefully we drew a good post position. Hopefully that can give him a good trip.
Just before we let you go, updates on the 2 Derby Trail horses other than current in the Florida Derby, obviously, but Cutting Humor won the Sunland Derby. I'm just curious, why Sunland?
Just we felt like that it was a good opportunity for him, and timing was good, and I don't know, we just we had a few options and felt like that was the best one for him.
What's his game plan leading to the Derby now?
Right now, he's back at Palm Beach Downs, and the plan would be to just train up to the Kentucky Derby at this point.
Fill us in on spinoff. I was in doing the handicapping show on OTB TV the afternoon he won over at Tampa, and I said, I think you got a nice one there off of that layoff, the win over at Tampa. follows that up with the second Louisiana Derby, but looked pretty good doing it. I liked him that day too, and about 100 yards into the stretch, I thought he was going to get it done. Then the long shot snuck up the rail, but what's the game plan now going forward for Spinoff?
Same thing with him. He's at Palm Beach Downs, and we feel like the 40 points should have him, in a position where he can earn us, a berth in the Kentucky Derby. So plan is just to train him up to it. Came out of the race really well. I think he gained some valuable experience out of the race, and I like the third race off the layoff, and I like the 6 weeks in between.
Very good. Congratulations again on the win here, and good luck on the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks to Todd for taking the time. Again, caught him in the winner's circle after winning the skip away yesterday, and already a nice win on the Saturday card, Coal Front, over in Dubai in the Godolphin Mile. Ken McPeek up next. He has Harvey Wallbanger in the Florida Derby, coming off the nice stakes win earlier in the meet. Also talked to him about Eskimo Kisses, who made her seasonal debut in the Azeri. We got what I think is a little breaking news on Eskimo Kisses, so stay tuned for that. Up next, Ken McPeek.
With Ken McPeek, he has Harvey Wallbanger in the Florida Derby, the upset winner of the Holy Bull. I expect you're looking for the pace in the Fountain of Youth, but I don't know whether we'll get that exactly. What are you looking for pace-wise in the Florida Derby?
Well, I think he'll handle the mile and an eighth really easily. I mean, I think that's going to be his game for sure. It's a big enough field that whether it's early pace or middle pace, it's going to be in there at some point. So we'll let Brian use his best judgment. He knows the horse, and he can time the ride as well as anybody. But it's we're not going to get overly concerned about how it unfolds.
Yeah, you can't be concerned about the distance. For a 3-year-old to have 6 starts, 5 of them around 2 turns, he's already got a lot of experience.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time teaching him that, and he's fast too. His work the other morning, he worked 47 flat, did it like breaking sticks, no problem. So he's quick, but he should handle that. I just need him to be 3rd or 4th or better to punch his ticket to the next dance, because I think a mile and a quarter is going to be great.
Wallbanger got a ground-saving trip. He has the short stretch to work with, but he's under a full head of steam now. Still many chances with less than an eighth to go. Maximus Mischief, Epic Dreamer, Harvey Wallbanger continues to close. Here's Harvey Wallbanger and Epic Fast. It's Harvey Wallbanger. Harvey Wallbanger, the thoroughbred variety, wins the Holy Bull in 143 and 3 at 25 to 1.
And give us a couple updates. Obviously, we're from up the Saratoga area. Eskimo Kisses won the Alabama. Give us your takeaway out of the Azeri, the seasonal debut.
We decided to breed her.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't really talked to anybody about that. Anthony Beck is the primary client on her. We bred her to Curlin, which we think's great after yesterday and the nice sale here. There is a possibility that she'll come back into training for partial of the spring and summer. Even in foal. She was bred on Monday. And, it's a little bit difficult with a mare like her. She's what I'd call a setup filly. She needs pace in the race. She needs a mile and a quarter, at least a mile and an eighth. And they literally aren't riding them. I mean, we set all winter long, and we didn't have a race to run. We didn't have any pace to run at Oaklawn. It was a mile and a 16th. So it's been really kind of scratching our heads, and not an easy decision to make to breed her, but we do think she's going to be a great broodmare.
Right behind her, Eskimo Kisses makes her run. Then Coach Rocks on the inside. They're into the stretch. Talk Veuve to Me turns for home in front in the Alabama. Midnight Bijou on the outside. Eskimo Kisses is coming on too. She's a Julius 4th. Eskimo Kisses strikes the front with a furlong to run and starts to pull away. And then it's Talk Veuve to Me, followed by Midnight Bijou on the outside, and she's a Julie. But it's Eskimo Kisses and Jose Ortiz in the Alabama.
So I believe you heard it here first. Eskimo Kisses comes out of the seasonal debut in the Azeri down at Oaklawn, bred to Curlin. So a little breaking news here on Racing Across America. Thanks to Ken McPeek, and good luck this afternoon with Harvey Wallbanger. He's fun. I've talked about it before. Owned by Harold Lerner, who you might have saw with him and Steve Bick and I on Sunday morning last year after Eskimo Kisses won the Alabama up at Saratoga. Harold won a big lottery, a huge lottery, he and his wife, a few years ago. Longtime horse player, but he took that lottery money, got in the game as an owner, and now he's got some nice horses like Eskimo Kisses and Harvey Wallbanger. So, again, good luck to them this afternoon. All right. Let's get some handicapping advice. Our friend Jason Blewitt, always fun to talk to Jay, and we caught up with him yesterday and got some thoughts on the action on Florida Derby Day and more. Up next, Jason Blewitt.
We're here with our man Jason Blewitt. We're going to get some Florida Derby thoughts from Jason. And what do you think? I mean, Hidden Scroll, does he rebound? A lot of people came out of the Fountain of Youth thinking Bourbon War with the second place finish looks nice. Harvey Wallbanger, can he repeat? What are your thoughts on the Derby?
I'm going to go with Bourbon War over Hidden Scroll. And believe me, I went back and forth between the two of them because, I mean, let's be honest, they're two very different looking horses. Hidden Scroll's got to prove to me, and he ran well in the Fountain of Youth, but he's got to prove to me he can take the heat and still finish. And I think Maximum Security and/or Hardbell, they're going to go after him from that tough inside post. And Bourbon War just strikes me as the kind of horse, Seth. Mile and a 16th here at Gulfstream, first finish line. Florida Derby, of course, is 9. He'll have a little more real estate to work with, not just in terms of distance, but a longer home stretch. And I think that's what he'll need to turn the tables on Code of Honor, who I think he gets the better of. And I think Hidden Scroll does run second.
You tossed a name in there that's interesting to me because I'm a buyer guy in Maximum Security there. I said to Jason Service, we talked about Palm Meadows this morning, what was that race for 16? What were you thinking? He said, I didn't think he'd get claimed. Free square.
Well, and, you know, as things go here at the track, I'm wondering between that race and Saturday how many people I'm going to bump into, whether owners or trainers going, oh, you know, I was going to drop the slip on him and I just didn't do it. You know, that's the kind of horse 30 people say they were going to claim. But, hey, Service has had a huge winter here. I'm glad he's in the race. I'm anxious to see how he runs. He's just stepping up, more speed, just not my cup of tea.
And just before we let you go, wrap up the championship meet. I mean, Pegasus, that was a great race, and obviously the Florida Derby, putting a capper on it during the year. It was fun to watch the human connections. Luis Saez and Irad Ortiz on the jockey side. Some of the thoughts on the championship meet.
It went great. It went fast. I do want to thank everybody, especially Capital OTB, for just being such loyal supporters of Gulfstream, not just during the winter, but year-round. My wife is from Saratoga Springs. I love Saratoga. I love upstate New York, so it's a place near and dear to me. It went great, and if you had a good time, don't forget, we're back running Thursday. I mean, we're basically here year-round, but the winter meet was great, and just like I said, I want to thank the horses and thank all the great fans.
Jay, always great to see you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks. Always a pleasure, my man Seth.
Thanks again to Jay for taking time. Always good to get opinions from the folks who are down here watching the racing day in and day out. He's one of those coming up a little bit later on. Also, Ron Nicoletti and Acacia Courtney will give some of their thoughts on the Florida Derby and other stakes on the card on this Saturday afternoon. Also coming up, we caught up with Shug McGaughey yesterday, so Code of Honor, a couple other horses with him. Bill Mott, we'll talk some Hidden Scroll. Got some updates as well on Tacitus, Country House, and Elate with Bill Mott, so stay tuned for all of that. I'm just vamping a little bit because we're just 2 minutes away and they're circling around for the Dubai Gold Cup, a 2-mile race. This is fun. They're co-favorites right now. Call the Win for Freddie Head, the number 2 horse. But the interesting horse, and here's the number 9 Cross Counter, who was favored is currently favored. Now Call the Wind has gone up to 5-2. Cross Counter is 2-1. Cross Counter is the number 9 horse. That was last year's Melbourne Cup winner. So this is kind of interesting. Has done a little European racing, bounces over, tries the Melbourne Cup, gets that done in Australia, and now shooting for a win at Meydan in Dubai, 2 miles in the Dubai Gold Cup. So again, they're kind of circling around and scheduled to enter the gate, and we'll sit back and watch that race. And at 2 miles, it'll take a little bit, but then we'll be back for more racing across America on this Florida Derby Day live from Gulfstream Park. And again, want to keep reminding you, $2.6 million in the Rainbow Six with a mandatory pay. At the 20-cent increment, you can put together a nice ticket at a budget and maybe have some fun. Again, my Rainbow Six, I'll check with the guys in the control room to see if they can maybe put together a graphic, which they'll drop in at some point, maybe after the show or as the afternoon progresses. I had an $86 ticket, which is a little more expensive than maybe I would normally like to go. But on a day like this, hey, you got to swing a little bit, and so I'll take a shot a 3x2 by 3x2 by 3x4 sequence, which I admit I don't have a lot of confidence in, but I want to be in the pool on a day like this and take my swing and maybe pull down a little piece or a big piece of what is estimated. Bill Badgett sat in here yesterday, the general manager here at Gulfstream Park, and estimated maybe $15 million. We'll see what they get today, because it's obviously going to be a big day with all eyes on Gulfstream Park with the Florida Derby. But with that Rainbow Six sitting out there with a mandatory, a lot of folks are going to jump in the pool. All right, they are loading in Dubai. Dubai Gold Cup. Again, the current favorite now taking some serious money. 3-2 favorite, cross counter, the Melbourne Cup winner from last fall. So we'll send it to Meydan Dubai. Watch the Gold Cup, and we'll be back momentarily for more Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
They're racing in the Dubai Gold Cup and a fairly even start, although Team Talk was a little bit tardy and went back the rear of the field. Prince of Arran away very quickly, along with Red Galileo. Marinaresco a little keen over on the fence. Call the Wind was next, and Cross Counter moves up on the outside going forward from Sharp Polo. Next of all is Ispalini, the white Godolphin colours, or the white cap on the Godolphin colours. Platinum Warrior down on the inside, going up deep at Team Talk, and between horses Gold Mount. Down the straight they come the first time in front of the massive crowd here on Dubai World Cup Night 2019. And the front runner, Red Galileo, bowls along by a half length over Prince of Arran. Getting across to be in third position with cover is Cross Counter. Marinaresco down on the fence, followed by Call the Wind. Next of all then is Team Talk sliding a little wider. They were followed by Sharp Polo. Down on the fence is Ispalini, then came Gold Mount, and back at the tail of the field is Platinum Warrior. They go by the Meydan Hotel, and the front runner is Red Galileo, about to leave the straight and shows out by a length over Prince of Arran, moving closer. Team Talk the outside. Next then is the Melbourne Cup winner. Cross Counter has been given beautiful cover over towards the fence now. Next of all is Call the Wind, the outside of Marinaresco. Getting back in the field with Sharp Polo, followed by Ispalini. Towards the tail is Gold Mountain. Last of all is Platinum Warrior. The first 400 metres was 27.17 as they raced into the back straight. 1,800 metres left to go in the Gold Cup, and Red Galileo shows the way for Pat Cosgrave. Prince of Arran been given a lovely ride by Murphy in second. Up on the outside, Team Talk, Cross Counter. Next then is Call the Wind in the white with the green band. Marinaresco down on the fence, followed by Sharp Polo. Then came Ispalini, who's just slightly crowded away from Gold Mountain. Back at the tail is Platinum Warrior. They go down by the final 1,200 metres, and still the front runner, Red Galileo. There's been absolutely no change in the order. Red Galileo's had a nice lead, led by a length and a quarter, Prince of Arran. Next is Cross Counter. Over on the outside, Team Talk. Next, Call the Wind, followed by Marinaresco. Then came Ispalini, looking to improve, but shuffled between horses from Sharp Polo, Gold Mount the outside, and Platinum Warrior. They're more compact now as they come down the side, and up on the outside, Prince of Arran goes to wide ball. Red Galileo, Cross Counter travelling strongly in third. Marinaresco not done with Ispalini's got a lovely run up on the inside, needs an out now. They were followed by Call the Wind, Sharp Polo, Platinum Warrior, then Gold Mountain, a gap away to Team Talk, but they turn for home, and Ispalini's got a beautiful run up on the inside. Races alongside a Cross Counter, and they're broken away. 5 lengths then to Call the Wind. Marinaresco followed by Gold Mount. Inside the 300 metres, it's Ispalini and Cross Counter with 4 lengths to Call the Wind. Cross Counter over on the outside. Ispalini tries to lift. Gold Cross Counter in front. Ispalini can't go with it in the late stages, and the Melbourne Cup winner is now the Dubai Gold Cup winner. It is Cross Counter, drawing clear to win by a length and a quarter over Ispalini. Next to come in is Call the Wind, followed after a gap to Gold Mount, then Marinaresco, Platinum Warrior, Sharp Polo. A gap off to Red Galileo. Prince of Arran dropped out from the top of the straight, and Team Talk was back at the rear. Well, he was there.
Wow. Ears pinned back. That's a pretty nice double. Melbourne Cup and Dubai Gold Cup. Really a grinder down the stretch. Cross Counter gets up to get it done. 9-6-2 unofficially. Hold your tickets. But, yeah, it comes out of the Melbourne Cup and gets it done over in Dubai on the comeback. And just look at that replay with the ears pricked back and cross counter. Congratulations there. All right, let's jump back in because plenty of show still left here on Racing Across America. And up next, Shug McGaughey. Caught up with him yesterday out kind of in the horse path as the horses. He was kind of leading one of his horses out to a stakes race yesterday, but we got a few minutes with Shug, talk a little code of honor, obviously one of the real contenders in the Florida Derby, clearly off of the stakes win last time. But also there were a couple other horses that I wanted to get updates on. Breaking the Rules is going to be a nice little 4-year-old turfer for Shug. And yeah, a nice 3-year-old debut winner down here called Passing Out that I think could be a nice horse going forward as well. He had a really great championship meet, and so we caught up with, as I say, yesterday, Shug McGaughey.
Shug McGaughey, code of honor in the Florida Derby on Saturday. 4th in the Mucho Macho Man. That was a funny race, though, because he ran 4th and then comes back, wins the Fountain of Youth. Well-defined ran 5th and came back and won the Sam Davis. So that Mucho Macho Man was a funny race. But the Fountain of Youth looked great there. What was your takeaway out of that race?
Well, I was very pleased with it. Like I said, the Mucho Macho Man, I didn't lose confidence, but it got jolted a little bit. And then to come back and have him run the way he did in the Fountain of Youth was kind of the way I expected him to be able to run. I thought our tactics were what he wants to do, be a little bit back, be a one-run kind of horse, and go from there. So,
what are you looking at pace-wise on Saturday?
Well, I think there'll be some pace. I mean, the one horse is coming off of Jamie Mejia is coming off sprints. The horse of I know Hidden Scroll had been trying to slow him down, but he drew the one post, and they get him back there, and it's never really had the dirt hit him before, and so that might be, I think they'll probably use him a little bit leaving there too. But I don't expect there'll be a pace like there was the other day. But I do think there'll be a pace.
So what are your expectations on Saturday?
Well, my expectations are that he'll run well. I mean, he came out of the Fountain of Youth very well, surprisingly well. And he has, trained well. He came down here today, and I liked what I saw from Payson. And, we're looking forward to tomorrow.
I've read some stories where you've been asked about comparing to your Derby winner Orb, kind of taking a similar path. Compare the two.
Well, I think that Code of Honor is a little more efficient kind of a horse, to where Orb was sort of a working kind of horse, and I think that he kind of caught on right off the bat. He won his first start. It took Orb 4 times to run. He had. He acted up in the gate a couple times, and so I think that, that Code of Honor is more efficient, but, Orb was a good horse, and he got there on 3 or 4 of the right days, so, Code of Honor still got to prove he can do that.
Before I let you go, a couple of nice horses you had run here, and where do we look for them next potentially? With a great Gulfstream meet, by the way. Congratulations so far. But Breaking the Rules, the 4-year-old debut looked very good in the Canadian turf. Ran second after winning the Tropical Park Derby at the end of last year. Just seems to be getting better now as a 4-year-old. And again, we're talking Breaking the Rules.
I think so too. My plan is to run him in the race at Louisville. I think when he ran a mile here the other day, that really wasn't what he wants to do. He wants to probably go a little bit farther. And so, there's a race at Belmont that day, Derby Day, for 150, or there's one in Louisville for $1 million. So we decided that we'll take a big shot, and if we're not in that category, then we'll just have to wait a little while and regroup, but I think it will be.
And just one more I want to touch on, Passing Out. 3-year-old daughter of Orb won the career debut down here at Gulfstream back on February 23rd. Passing Out, what's next?
Passing Out's going to run in a allowance race at Keeneland towards in the 20s of April. And what I'm trying to do, if she's that kind of horse, is to have her race a space to where we can use the races in New York for 3-year-old fillies.
Very good, Shug. Congratulations again. A nice meet down here. Good luck on Saturday.
All right, thank you very much.
Good luck to Shug with the Code of Honor in the Florida Derby this afternoon. All right, let's move on. Get some more handicapping thoughts. Our friend Dave Grening down a little double duty as he'll be here this weekend helping out Mike Welch with the coverage of these races at Gulfstream. But right back up to New York for the Wood Memorial next week. We'll be there as well, so should be a lot of fun. But we got some thoughts from Dave Grening. Florida Derby and some other stakes action on the Saturday card up next.
Joined now by Dave Grening from the Daily Racing Form. Dave, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Happy to have you down here talking to us a little in Florida. Usually we're up in Saratoga, but you're helping Mike Welch, of course, on a big day, Florida Derby Day. And why don't we get your thoughts on the big race? does Hidden Scroll rebound? Harvey Wallbanger comes out of the win in the stakes race. Code of Honor coming out of the stakes win down here. Bourbon War getting buzz off the second place finish in the stakes race. And the Jason Service runner, who we talked to him at Palm Meadows yesterday, said, what's racing for the 16,000? And he said, free square, and it worked out for him.
It did.
Now off a 102 buyer figure in the last race, and there aren't too many triple digits for 3-year-olds this year. So what are some of your thoughts on the Florida Derby?
Well, obviously the most interesting horse, he's one of them, but Hidden Scroll, how does he bounce back? How does he adjust to a new running style? Can he handle sitting off of horses? And will he, because he's got the rails? So what do they do coming out of the gate there? New rider Javier Castellano. But I think maybe sometimes we overthink this thing, and Code of Honor was going to be maybe the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile until he got sick. Kind of laid an egg here in the Mucho Macho Man, but Shug McGaughey knows what he's doing, and he nailed the screws down a little bit for the Fountain of Youth, and it responded, and I think he's done the same thing moving forward, and it's sort of reminiscent of Orb. Now Orb didn't lose down here, but he did win the Fountain of Youth and came back and won the Florida Derby. I don't expect him to go backwards. I expect him to go forwards, and if he was, and the pace should be decent between Maximum Security, Hard Bell, and what they decide to do with Hidden Scroll, what Hidden Scroll decides to do, And so I'm going to go back to Code of Honor. I liked him in the Fountain of Youth, and I'll go back to him. I know the price won't be as good, but I like him in there.
I used him on top too, and my question mark was the pace. So you're anticipating it'll be legitimate. Maybe not as fast as last time, but legitimate.
Yeah, it won't be as fast as last time, but he may not be as far, I don't necessarily think he has to be as far out of it. I don't think he's pigeonholed as just has to. It helps when a closer gets a 45, but I also think he's more versatile than that. I think he can lay up a little bit closer and still be effective. And it is a little bit interesting that John Velasquez gave up the opportunity to ride in a $10 million or $12 million Dubai World Cup to stay in the States and ride this horse. He could have said, "Look, Shug, I'll be back. I got to ride this horse, Seeking the Soul, who's got a chance in the Dubai World Cup. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But it's Dallas Stewart. He usually runs well in a big race, but he's staying here for this. So that says something too."
That's a good point. I said this earlier in the year. Normally the jockey switches, I think oftentimes we read too much into it. But when I saw Velasquez over at Tampa on, I think, a Wednesday for spinoff, I thought, this I think says something about spinoff maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's for Todd. He's gonna do what Todd needs him to do. And I know look, Johnny doesn't always make the right calls either. He was gung ho on Vino Rosso last year, and while he did win the Wood, the horse didn't really pan out the rest of his 3-year-old year. Now he came back off with a nice win to start his 4-year-old year and be in the Carter. But I found it interesting that he just, it could have been very easy to say, look, I got a $12 million race to ride. I'll come back with you in the Kentucky Derby or whenever you want me to ride him again.
Let's go one race earlier on the card, the Pan American. I love the turf marathon distances. I said earlier, we were talking with Acacia Courtney, I said turf sprints, it's just a little modest thing goes wrong and you're out of it. Right. A turf marathon, you can kind of overcome any kind of fault for the most part and still be a contender, and so they come down the stretch, and it seems like you have a chance with your horse at some point in the race in these turf marathons. I love them. Your thoughts on the Pan American?
Yeah, I like a horse in here, the 4 Canassar for Arnold Delacour. You go back and look at this horse's form. He was very solid last summer. Was second in the Belmont Gold Cup. Was second in the Stars and Stripes. He actually came out of that race, got very sick. He had a case of pneumonia. Came off the bench and ran in the McKnight here on Pegasus Day. And in that race, it was a very boggy turf course. He got kind of shuffled back to last at the start. He was coming off a layoff, so he wasn't totally fit. Caught a boggy turf course. Didn't have a great trip. Was only beaten 4 3/4 lengths by Zulo Alpha, who came back to win another stakes race at the meet and is not in here. You still have 2 Mike Maker horses to deal with in Saglio and Bigger Picture, but Bigger Picture hasn't run well at Gulfstream Park. And Saglio, when you look at the trips that he had versus what Canassar had in the McKnight, Canassar had a much more difficult trip. So I expect him to move forward. Now, you might get a little value there because he loses Castellano, but Fergal Lynch is the last jockey to win on this horse. So I have no problem there. I think it actually helps the price more than anything. And I just think the horse will benefit from having the run and a steady work pattern. And Delacour is a solid trainer, and I think second off the layoff will be good for him.
We were up at Palm Meadows yesterday and got some thoughts on Heichel from Karen McLaughlin. Any early thoughts on the Wood?
Yeah, he worked today at Belmont, and I didn't see it, but the reports were solid. Now we did get a little news out of there today. Mind Control worked, but he's going to run on the Bayshore and not the Wood Memorial. Jovia, who's also trained by Greg Sacco, is going to run in the Wood. He was second to Heichel in the Jimmy Wingfield, and he was second to Always Mining in the private terms. So a little bit of a difference thing there. I'm a Tax fan, and I'm anxious to see him come back to the races. So after the second in the Withers, I know that race hadn't panned out very well yet, but I think that horse is pretty good.
Thanks, Dave.
All right.
They did go official in Dubai in the Gold Cup, 9-6-2 cross counter. Again, that's a nice double. Melbourne Cup and go over to Dubai and win the Gold Cup over there. But it is official now in that third from Dubai, 9-6-2, and we're about 25 minutes away from the sprint, the turf sprint. Another race where there's some American rooting interest. Stormy Liberal, winner of last year's Breeders' Cup turf sprint, 7-5 favorite currently. Again, won that Breeders' Cup race last year. A couple of prep races out in Southern California in anticipation of this. Ran second in both of those, but he currently, for Peter Miller, the favorite. Peter Miller also has Belvoir Bay in here at 12-1. Stormy Liberal is the number 1. Belvoir Bay is the number 7. And Tommy Proctor has number 9, Caribou Club. So some American rooting interest in the upcoming fourth from Dubai. That'll go on just about 9:30, so just about time for us to wrap things up here. You'll get that live as well. All right, just heard from Dave Grening, so let's shift from handicapping back to trainer speak, trainer talk. Bill Mott, one of the players up, I'm being told. Okay, we're going to move along and call a little audible here. Acacia Courtney coming up next. Again, want to talk to the handicappers that are live here every day from Gulfstream Park. We heard from Jason Blewitt. Up next, Acacia Courtney with some thoughts on the Florida Derby and more. Courtney, paddock commentator here that we see every day before the races at Gulfstream Park. We'll get some thoughts on some of the stakes action coming up on Saturday. Before we do that, just give us some thoughts on the championship meet. It's been a lot of fun. Jockey's race coming down to the last couple of days. I had Bill Badgett on earlier, talked about the Classico del Caribe, which is a nice start to the meet now. The Pegasus is turning out to be a race where we get a last chance to see some superstars. But again, it's been a great meet. Sum it up a little bit for us.
It really has been. You're absolutely right. I think the Classico del Caribe was one of my favorite days of racing, both last year and this year, just because you get to see a lot that we don't normally see in American racing. They bring a lot of the Latin pride and the Caribbean excitement, which is just so great. You see people dancing in the winner's circle holding flags and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun and great opportunity for those horses to get to shine on a stage like this and come to Gulfstream, and some of them actually staying to race here at Gulfstream, like Hala Hala and Kukulkan as well, who ran in the Pegasus. And we did have some rain on Pegasus World Cup Day, but this is now my third Pegasus. I've gotten to be part of all three of them, and it's just pretty special. And you just kind of get chills every time. And getting to see City of Light wrap up his career in that way, Gunrunner, Arrogate, you go down the line, and just seeing the caliber of horses that comes here to race regardless of the weather or any sort of situation like that, and doing new things with the turf race this year and seeing Bricks and Mortar be successful. The championship meet has gone by fast. I can't believe it's almost over, but every year there's always something different happening, and that's one of the great things that I really do love about Gulfstream, is that they're always doing new things.
And as you say, it is kind of wrapping up the exclamation point Florida Derby and Florida Derby Day. Let's take a look at some of the stakes, starting with the Florida Derby. Love to get your thoughts on really intriguing race. Will Hidden Scroll bounce back? Harvey Wallbanger, Bourbon War,
Maximum Security is interesting to me. We talked to Jason Service. I said, what was the game plan putting him up for 16 in the career debut? He said, I thought maybe I'd get a free square. He did. But comes out of a 102 Bayer victory last time. Code of Honor, certainly in the Fountain of Youth, looked good. What are your thoughts on the Florida Derby?
I've heard a lot of comments about the draw with Hidden Scroll because he is a horse that has a lot of natural early speed, and he had the inside post in his debut where he won by 14 on the Pegasus World Cup undercard. And he's a horse that they've been training to be able to rate a little bit kinder. He's been behind horses, taking a lot of dirt in his face. He's been just off the flank of horses, seeing daylight, but still having some company. So he's gained, I think, a lot of maturity. I've actually saw his last work in person up at Payson Park and have spoken quite a few times to Bill Mott. It always seems like I'm bothering somebody for an interview, but he's a horse that I really think maybe he doesn't have the seasoning of some of the others, but given the way that they've been training him, they're really trying to make up for that. And he's a bigger sized horse, and even hearing comments from Judd Mott, they say if we don't make it on the Kentucky Derby trail, maybe we'll go right to the Preakness, and there's no rush with this horse. There's no rush. So I think he's more of a long-term type of horse. That said, I still do think we're going to get a very big effort for him. If there is a lot of pace, like with Maximum Security stretching out, or Hard Bell could potentially show some speed, it could set up perfectly for Bourbon War, who I think was hindered with the first finish line going a mile and a 16th last time out in the Fountain of Youth because he galloped out past the rest of the field. As far as works, I have preferred Hidden Scroll in the morning to Bourbon War. That said, I do think that Bourbon War is a very talented horse, and he's really done nothing wrong as of yet. So those are the two. They're going to be the two shortest prices, I think, but I do think that one of them, if not both of them, are going to show their best race yet.
And you make a great point. The folks should keep in mind about the Fountain of Youth, first finish line. So not only do we get a 16th of a mile longer today, but a longer stretch to run into as well. All right, let's go back to Pan American. I love turf racing, marathon turf racing.
Me too.
What I like about it as compared to a turf sprint, if something goes wrong, you're done. One of these marathons, you can kind of settle in and overcome obstacles, and it's just fun to watch. You're live regardless of what happens right until they come into the stretch. I thought Focus Group was going to be the horse to beat, and so I put him on top for Chad Brown, but I think bigger picture, Solio also live in here. Your thoughts on the Pan American?
I love these races too, and I think you're absolutely right about how things really just come down to the stretch. But one thing I also love is it just seems like these marathon turf races are like those throwback horses, that can really just run all day, and I love that. It seems like Mike Maker always has one in, and Solio's been so consistent. He is the type of horse he gets very warm before the race. He's very keyed up in the afternoon. That's normal for him. And going a mile and a half, you'd hope that he wouldn't be showing that much energy in the paddock, but that's just normally what he does. So I really like him, and I think Village King's going to be a little bit of a wild card too for Todd Pletcher. He's got a lot of speed. I just think that he never really had a breather in the McDermott, which is a really tough race, and I think we're going to get a little bit stronger effort from him this time out. And of course, you can't leave off Chad Brown and Focus Group.
All right, now finally let's take a look at the 12th race. It's an optional claimer, but folks want to take a look at all the races in the rainbow sequence with the mandatory pay and the $2.5 million carryover. Pagliacci on top for me. But again, I think it's an interesting race. We talked with Rob Landry from Chiefswood up at Palm Meadows, Nipowa, who won the Breeders' Stakes up there, the third leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. It comes out of some mile-and-a-half races, and I said, what do you think about the mile? And he said, you know what, the horse has done well at a mile before. So I didn't put Nipo in my mix, but that's one that was just sitting outside, and I thought was a little bit intriguing. Battle of Blenheim is in for me, second mate. But what are your thoughts in the 12th?
Nippa was actually my top pick, so you were absolutely right. I think coming off of those mile-and-a-half races, even though he's coming off of a layoff, he's been training well at Palm Meadows, and he's always seemed like the type of horse to me who he's got natural speed, but he's not a need the lead type. He's got John Velasquez aboard. Just looks like he's going to be coming in pretty strong, and he might be overlooked a little bit because of the layoff and because of the longer races. I remember him breaking his maiden here. He's really just done some good stuff on both the synthetic and on the turf. I prefer him on the turf personally. I also think Space Mountain, who's actually a big price on the morning line, could be a logical one. He is first off the claim for Mike Maker for $62,000, which is quite a lot to claim a horse, but that's kind of a normal thing for trainer Michael Hoy, who does a great job with Mike, finding these horses, maybe claiming them for a little bit of a higher price, but then getting some more longevity out of them and racing them, and just thought that this was a horse now in this barn we're going to see a little bit better effort from.
Yeah, you see him pay that kind of money for a 6-year-old. You know they have some plans. Right. And I put that one down at the bottom of my mix, as you say, at a 15-1 morning line, so we'll see. Acacia, always great to talk to you. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you very much, and good luck to everybody with the Rainbow Six as well.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
Taking some time, and again, up in a few minutes, Ron Nicoletti, as we'll get all three of the local handicappers to give some thoughts. But first, as promised, we had a little technical glitch there momentarily, but we now have Bill Mott ready to go. Going to talk a little hidden scroll, obviously, in the Florida Derby, but he also has Yoshida in the Dubai World Cup. His son and assistant trainer Ryan is over in Dubai with Yoshida, so we got some thoughts on that one. And updates also on Tacitus, Elate, and Country House, all from Bill Mott.
Standing with Bill Mott, Hidden Scroll, obviously the eye-popping debut, and then the follow-up in the Fountain of Youth, the fourth-place finish. What was your takeaway from the Fountain of Youth?
Well, kind of a learning experience for us. I mean, a learning experience for us and the horse as well. He wound up on the lead that day, and they went a little fast. The pace was very hot, and he tired in the last eighth of a mile, but it was a credible race, and hopefully he got a lot out of that, and maybe we've learned something. And I think maybe we've learned something since then, that he's, I think he's capable of rating a little bit if he needs to. I think he can be up on the pace, or he can, stalk horses if necessary.
So you've got him at Gulfstream on Saturday. Just a thought on Yoshida. How's Riley say he's doing for Dubai World Cup?
He's been doing very well. He shipped very well, and all systems are go over there. They're probably, about 12 or 15 hours away from race time over there right now.
And I just went ahead on a couple of Tacitus, who won the Tampa Bay Derby. And, I mean, this is lightly raced to walk over and do that. Pretty nice. And you've got points. So what are you looking now between now and Kentucky Derby for Tacitus?
He'll come back to New York. He'll go to the Wood on April the 6th. And, we will put a breeze in him on Sunday. If all systems are go, he'll travel on Wednesday. He'll jump on a plane and go up to New York, and he'll run on Saturday.
And Elate, I thought she looked great in the seasonal debut, ran second, but that was a loaded version of the Azeri. What's up next for Elate?
We may well go back to the Apple Blossom. I mean, we kind of knocked the rust off of her a little bit in the Azeri. She had been away almost 7 months, and she probably wasn't at the top of her game, and probably wasn't meant to be, or usually they aren't after being off that long. But it was surely a credible race. The horse that beat us is a Grade 1 winner, and has some class about her. So we came away thinking it was a good race, and we feel like Elate should move forward in her next race.
And I should ask you about Country House, just because 30 points are on the bubble. So one more for him?
I believe we could run one more time. I mean, we haven't picked the race out yet. Could well be the Arkansas Derby, even the Bluegrass, which would be coming back in only 2 weeks' time, but he's a horse that could probably handle it. So we're having a look at, one of those two races. As long as he's doing good, as long as he's doing well in the next 10 days' time, we'll give it a chance.
Appreciate your time, and good luck going forward, but certainly on Saturday with Hidden Scroll and Yoshida over in Dubai.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks to Bill Mott and all the trainers who took some time to join us over the past few days, either here on track or up at Palm Meadows. Before we wrap up again, we will join one of the local handicappers, Ron Nicoletti. We heard from Jason Blewitt and Acacia Courtney, but of course you see Ron here on the set every racing day giving some of his thoughts. So again, want to catch up with the locals because they're here every day and get their thoughts, Florida Derby and more. So up next, our buddy, Ron Nicoletti.
All right, we're here with Ron Nicoletti, sitting on the paddock set. We're always happy to be here. Thanks for having us down. The great hospitality at Gulfstream, always appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and exciting weekend, coming up. We got the Express Best Florida Derby, so it should be a great weekend of racing. And of course, by the way, we're going to probably have about 20 million in the Rainbow Six pool if it carries until Saturday.
I'll be in. I'm in. I keep telling people, 20 cents, you can put together a whale-sized ticket on a pretty good budget. And I think it's even fun when it gets up to like $500,000, $1 million. The console's okay.
The consoles are great. People don't realize that. They think you got to get that one unique ticket, and it's not the case. Have you seen it many times? 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. The other day, wasn't that hard to hit? I mean, I didn't have it, but it paid $15,000 for the 6 out of 6. So, but the beauty of the mandatory payout, there's no carryover. It all goes on that day, so it's the best day to bet it.
I am jumping in the pool. All right, let's take a look at some of the Saturday action. Let's start with the highlight, the Florida Derby. Fun race. Hidden Scroll. Will this one bounce back? Maximum security for Jason Service. We talked to him this morning. Hey, why was he in for 16 for the? He said, man, I thought nobody was going to get him. He got the free square there. That was fun. Harvey Wallbanger, can he repeat? Bourbon War off the nice second in the Fountain of Youth. Your thoughts in the Florida Derby?
Well, when you handicap the race, because you mentioned maximum security, you mentioned all these different horses, looks like there's a ton of speed on paper, and the race really sets up for Bourbon War. But I didn't go that way. I went back to Hidden Scroll. I just think that this horse is the horse. I was so impressed with his debut. I've been watching his works with Bill Mott taking this horse off the pace. Of course, he's got the inside post, but he's been training well, and I want to see if he's that horse. I think if he's the horse I think he is, he wins this race, whether he has to go a little bit early, sit behind the pace. On paper, like I said, if you handicap it, it's Bourbon War just because he closes the best. And, of course, you got a Code of Honor in the race who nicely. They went fast last time. That's why Hidden Scroll didn't fare well, because he got hooked in that Suicide Duel. I just want to see if he's the horse, and I'm willing to put my money on it.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that Hidden Scroll still ran well given the pace scenario in the Fountain of Youth.
I thought he ran fantastic because he was just out there on there was a suicide mission, and there's just no way. And to hold on to finish fourth, and you have to remember, that was his second lifetime start. This horse is just learning how to do it. And if you watch the works of this horse coming into the Florida Derby, he's been trained. He got dirt in his face 2 works back. They put him side by side with a horse last time to teach him to rate off a horse. And I think that's what he's got to do. But he's got that natural speed to overcome what some people see as the pitfalls of the inside post. So he's got that tactical speed. That doesn't mean he's got to go. He gets position, he sits, or if they let him go, he goes.
Certainly that career debut gave the indication this is a special horse. All right, let's take a look. One race earlier, the Pan American on the grass at 1.5 miles. And again, nice field in here. Chad has focus group. We talked with him a little bit there when we were up at Palm Meadows. Village King is in here for Todd Pletcher. Nice field in the Pan American. What are your thoughts?
I like Village King. I just think this one's going to stretch out to 12 furlongs, set the pace, yielded late, went 5th, beaten about 1.5 lengths, and that was in the McDarmida. I see this horse as a speed in there. You got pace master John Velasquez. I think this horse can control the pace. Focus group, of course. I don't know if I'm going to get a little bit of price on this horse. Solio is also in the race. The horse loves to finish second. I just went with Village King, and it's a speed play for me.
All right, and finally, let's take a look at the Sand Springs. These are fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 mile on the turf for $100,000. Again, another fun field of turf racers on the card, and as part of that, Rainbow Six. So some thoughts in the Sand Springs.
Well, this horse, if you look at the horses in the race, they're all Grade 1 horses. It's a $100,000 race. That's why I wanted to talk about it. It's so unique. I did go with Valedictorian, who's a sharp winner of the 9 furlong Grade 3 Swanee River. Couple of starts back. Proctor's Ledge comes out of Grade 1 events. He's the class of the field. And Mrs. Ramona G. I just thought Valedictorian here comes back after its good performances and wins that race.
And Ron, I always want to remind people when we talk to you that folks can find your picks every day. Nice printable sheet via the website, Gulfstreampark.com. We always appreciate your time, and good luck on Saturday.
Same to you.
Same to all of us taking a shot in the rainbow.
That's for sure.
Thanks.
Thanks to Ron for taking the time, and Acacia and Jason as well. Again, got some handicapping thoughts from the locals, and also handicapping thoughts a little bit earlier from Dave Grening of the Daily Racing Form, as well as the trainers we had on board. So hopefully you enjoyed our live coverage here from Gulfstream Park, Florida Derby weekend yesterday and today. Let me just kind of go through some of the information to keep you updated on what's coming up tomorrow, kind of review what we've done, and also a reminder, certainly Rainbow Six, $2.6 million in the carryover. It's a mandatory pay today. Keep that in mind here at Gulfstream Park. It'll kick off in race 9 about 3:34, so the Rainbow Six, jump in the pool because it will certainly go up many times from that $2.6 million. We'd love to have you participating, and even more importantly, we'd love to have us all cash some tickets. They flashed up my rainbow ticket through the show this morning, so hopefully you got to write that down if you're interested, and not necessarily to play exactly what I've played, but maybe to give you some ideas of numbers to put on your ticket. Brian Nadeau's Rainbow 6 is available via the website. If you pick up the handicapper support sheet, his Rainbow ticket is there. We are about 6 minutes away from the turf sprint at Meydan in Dubai. The favorite is currently Blue Point, who's coming off of a couple of nice wins at this meet earlier. So Logical is currently the 6-5 choice. William Buick on board that horse. Again, there are 3 American entrants that you can pay attention to. The number 1 is Stormy Liberal, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. Opened up as the favorite, currently at 3-1. I think you're getting pretty good value there for the Peter Miller runner. Joel Rosario on board. Won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year. Subsequently, though, 2 preps for this race, and there have been a couple of second-place finishes, but pretty gutsy tries. So, again, at 3-1, Stormy Liberal, interesting. Peter Miller also with Belvoir Bay, and Stormy Liberal's the number 1. Belvoir Bay is the number 7 horse. Flavian Prat is on board, and Caribou Club goes out for Tommy Proctor, the number 9 horse. Again, some more American rooting interest. Joe Talamo on board. But as I say, the favorite is Blue Point, coming out of a couple of wins earlier at the meet in Dubai. That's the number 8 horse. So that'll be up in about 5 minutes. I'll kind of wrap things up here. And again, I hope you enjoyed the programming yesterday. We had on what you would have to think will be the main players this afternoon. Not only the main players here this afternoon in the Florida Derby, but we hit on maybe some upcoming races as well to pay attention to. But yesterday, talked to Karen McLaughlin, talked to him on Thursday morning. Taped that up at Palm Meadows, and again, that was on yesterday's show. We talked about Heichel, who will be in the Wood, obviously, next week. We had Chad Brown on yesterday. Jason Service got his runner, of course, Maximum Security in the Florida Derby, but Call Paul and World of Trouble may be going ahead. Mark Hennig was on set with us yesterday. Bourbon War, of course, with Mark. If you missed yesterday's show, go to our YouTube channel. That is up in replay. If you go to the Capital OTB webpage, capitalotb.com, and scroll down to the bottom, there's a YouTube link, and you can watch yesterday's show. And if you missed any of today's show, I assume it'll be up on the YouTube page sooner rather than later today. Happy to talk to, and again, want to thank all these trainers for participating. Todd Pletcher, Ken McPeek, and again, a little bit of breaking news with Eskimo Kisses in foal to Curlin. So that was kind of fun news from Ken McPeek. Shug McGaughey also joined us, Bill Mott. So as I say, over the past couple of days, a lot of the major players, and we hope you appreciated the coverage we've brought to you live from Gulfstream Park. And before we go, certainly have to thank our friends at Gulfstream for their hospitality. We are guests sitting on the set, the paddock set that you normally see Jason, Acacia, and Ron sit on. And we want to thank the folks at Gulfstream Park from the top on down. Tim Ritvo and the Stronach people. Bill Badgett, the GM, was in with us yesterday. Thanks to him for taking the time to do that. Dave Joseph over in the press office always takes care of us. The TV guys, Ben and his team up in the control room. Dennis here on the camera. Want to thank them. On the OTB side, couldn't do it without the folks in the control room up in Albany. Brian, Danny, and Dino. Mick here taking the video that you've seen over the past couple of days here in Florida on track and up at Palm Meadows. Also have to thank our president, Capital OTB, John Signor, and the board of directors who support this kind of programming that we do really on a regular basis, live every day from Saratoga, and we're traveling more and more over the past couple of years, and it's always fun. And as I say, hopefully you appreciate all the coverage we've brought you, and we want to thank all those folks for helping us do it. Tomorrow, I'm actually taping a recap show tonight, but we've taped some pieces, and I want you to tune in tomorrow, Racing Across America, the regular time, 10 a.m. We did a little piece on the 2-year-old sale that they had here on Wednesday. A lot of fun. Want you to tune in. Bob Baffert was here. We caught up with Bob. Not only talked 2-year-old sales, but got some thoughts on his 3-year-olds. We talked to Terry Finley from West Point. They're big participants in the 2-year-old sale, so we caught up with him. Boyd Browning, the president of Fasig Tipton. Anacite Cianello, who also is a rep for Fasig Tipton. So again, Baffert and company talking the 2-year-old sales and more tomorrow. Racing Across America at 10 a.m. with some recaps of the stakes action that will happen here at Gulfstream today. So make sure you tune in for that. And I'm just looking. I think I've I've gone over everything on my notes. So again, really appreciate the hospitality down here at Gulfstream Park, and hope to do it again next year for a Florida Derby weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage. Always love to have your feedback. Viewer mail at capitalotb.com, or hit our Twitter feed or Facebook. Always let us know. Thumbs up, or if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, we would love to hear that as well. All right, I'm going to put a wrap on it, put a bow on our live coverage. Again, we will have some more coverage tomorrow, but some taped coverage on Racing Across America Sunday morning at 10 a.m. They're loading in Dubai, so we'll send it to the Turf Sprint and maybe give a little root for Stormy Liberal at now a nice 7-2 price, I think. The number 1 horse, American rooting interest there. So thanks for tuning in. Again, if you missed any of it, go to our YouTube channel and catch the replay. We will wish you a lot of good luck on this Florida Derby card. We'll see you again next time.
ZZ Developments. There's illustrious led with the barrier blanket, Anthony Darmanin. Brave smash about to go forward for Hugh.